2 looking south, looking straight up now. It's September 20, 2011, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Let's see if we can find this object that's near the sun. Keep on rotating the camera. There's a bit of a cloud there causing a bit of haze around the sun. This is the best setting I can find on the camera. I've done several tests. Unfortunately, it only seems to work pointing at the sun if it's on automatic exposure. So that's what I'm trying to do. Jet flying past. If I can catch that. A lot of jets going past this morning. This is the 6th one this morning. There's another one. Let's count. 2, 3 dozen now. Hello everyone. It's September 22nd, 2011. Almost 1 AM, Chiang Mai, Thailand. This is a follow-up video to the video I made yesterday. And we should be able to see Orion up there somewhere, and the moon having passed it. But we just had some heavy rain, so we can't see anything. So let's get back to the computer and see what we can see there. First, let's do a synchronization with the Internet Time Server. Check our clocks. These were checked at 6 PM this evening. We'll do it again. As you'll notice, it will come back with an error from the NIST site, the time.nist.gov, but it now works at time.windows.com. The NIST has been down for I think about 3 or 4 days. Time.windows.com has been working again for the last 3 or 4 days. So there we go, so we're synchronized. And synchronization is pretty good. It matches this clock quite nicely. It's a little bit ahead. Okay, so what are we looking at? It's the cube. You see I've got many more of these cubes. These $3 clocks. I'm waiting for the time. Just flicked over then. Okay, this is as it looks like at 6 o'clock tonight, and we should have lost about another half a second, I guess, if this trend lines continue. When we're looking to try this clock experiment with me, this is the kind of clock which seems to be the best. Made in China, cheap and nasty. It's got a thermometer. It might also come in a different kind of box. You might be able to find something like this with a display like this, with the electronics inside. It might be the same. These clocks were obviously produced a few years ago. This is at a surplus supply shop, selling for about $3, and just a really, throwaway, cheap and nasty clock. Looks nice, but it's not a very good timekeeper. As you can see, I actually synchronized these all yesterday. This one's almost a minute ahead, 2 days ago. This one's almost a minute ahead. This one's slightly faster than that one. That one's going to flick over maybe another few seconds. Just like these ones, but these ones actually, although these aren't accurate timepieces, they actually move at about the same rate as this Casio does. So what's so good about this particular clock is, even though it's not a very good timekeeper, it's much more sensitive to whatever it is we're measuring here. Okay, what you're looking at here is a chart showing earthquakes since the beginning of 2006. This is the earthquake in Chile on February 27, 2010. This is the earthquake in Japan on March 11 of this year. These red lines are actually the absolute energy released on the day, and now we're showing As well as that, we're going to show the number of earthquakes that have occurred. As you can see, at the beginning of 2009 there was a big drop off in the number of earthquakes, and of course after the Japan earthquake there's been a very steep decline in the number of earthquakes reported. Okay, if we take the log of energy, the total energy on every 24-hour period, but as a log scale, and actually the log of energy has actually remained fairly flat for the whole period, although it's now looking like it's on a bit of a decline. Okay, I can zoom in on that. What we're looking at here are the earthquakes since the beginning of July, and these have shown to be correlating to the clock slowdowns that match alignments, and I've been doing these alignments with planets based on orbital elements. Like this is an alignment with the Pleiades. Okay, this is actually just based on where the Pleiades would be in the sky, of course. This is alignment on Orion, of course that's based on where Orion would be in the sky. These are alignments based on Alanin, according to the orbital elements published by NASA for Alanin. This is Jupiter. Okay, for example, Jupiter is actually a very strong one. We quite often get significant earthquakes on the Jupiter alignments, as you see here, but whether or not you get earthquakes, it seems to be contingent on whether or not the clocks have slowed. And I've been doing this clock experiment, as many of you know, and it's when the clocks are on a slowdown and we hit an alignment, we can expect an earthquake. And that's what I was anticipating on the 20th when I made that video. And let's pull this back up again. Okay, so last time this happened was on August 24, and that correlated with a slowdown of the clocks. As you can see here, August 24, it reached the bottom of the slowdown here. Okay, and the equivalent alignment was occurring here. I was anticipating the earthquake to occur on the 21st, which would have been late on the 20 or early on the 21st, which would have been here, but instead the clocks have continued to slow. And if we look at the seismographs, as you can see, it not only was no significant earthquake, there was no magnitude 7+, there were almost no earthquakes at all. It was extremely quiet, and this is unusually quiet. There was a 5 point something in Japan, which shows up on some of these seismographs. This crazy movement in Alaska has actually come to an end. This was very black a day ago. I guess that's something to do with that volcano. Perhaps someone will know about that. I haven't been looking at that particularly. This movement down here, this came to an end. This was black up until yesterday, and this has actually calmed down significantly. So if we look at the latest earthquakes, as you can see, I'll do a quick refresh, and there's almost nothing here. This is extremely quiet. 5.2 near the east coast of Honshu. Okay, so with this being so quiet, I really want to know why is it so quiet, because by all accounts, my observations for the last 2 months with the clocks, and my observations which spanned, I've been looking at this stuff for about a year, and I've got the data covering 100 years of earthquakes. I would have expected something to have happened on those alignments, considering the clocks were slowing. Okay, there's something I need to point out about the clock slowdown, which is unusual compared to last time. My main clocks are not slowing. Last month, which was actually occurring a bit later in the month, my clocks were slowing, all the clocks were slowing. And the difference between the cube clock and the other clocks is represented here. And as you can see, the cube clock was slowing faster than the other clocks, and then they evened out to being about the same speed. But this time, the cube clock is slowing and the others are remaining constant. Well, this is a similar situation to what happened on September 7. All the clocks jumped. They jumped by about 10 seconds. However, if you look at the difference between the Casio and the cube clock on September 7, it's almost negligible. Nothing happened. In fact, the real jump happened between September 8 and 9. The cube clock jumped up when apparently, according to the internet server times, all the clocks had jumped down. So there's something wrong with the internet server times in this period here, and it would appear that there's something wrong with the internet server time right now, over the last 2 days. Okay, so let's first have a look at this slowdown that occurred on August 8, between August 8 and August 11, perhaps ended on August 9. Unfortunately, I'd eliminated the cube clock from my experiment earlier on, as it seemed to be unstable. Later on I decided it might actually be the best indicator, so I only reintroduced it on August 10. And with these adjustments that appear to be happening with the internet server times, it's possible that actually the drop was not as it appears here. So this would appear to be the passing of Comet Honda. I can't put up the JPL website on that at the moment. I've tried. It seems to be offline. It's been offline for most of the evening, and it's been offline quite often recently, so we'll have to make do with this article here. Speedy Comet Honda to pass near Earth next week, and this is published on August 8. That would coincide with the slowdown in the clocks that we observe here. You can pull up Honda for yourself with the JPL website sometime when it's online again. Okay, so let's look at these other three clock slowdowns. The first one appears to have begun on July 28. And July 28, that was actually the Orion alignment. The next one shows up on August 23. August 23, well, that's actually 1 day before the Orion alignment. And the Orion alignment actually occurred late on the 24th. And the most recent slowdown was observed on the 20th. And the 20th is again before the Orion alignment, which occurs early on the 21st. So the interesting thing about these clock slowdowns is, if these clock slowdowns are the result of an object in space or on our solar system being near the Earth and in alignment with the Earth and Moon, they're occurring earlier in the Moon cycle, which either suggests the object is stationary in space or in a retrograde orbit around the Sun, meaning it's going in the opposite direction to the Earth around the Sun, or it's not moving at all. There's one issue with these clock slowdowns, and that is it doesn't seem to fit with this 188-day cycle, because this 188-day cycle suggests there's an object moving around the Sun in the same direction as the Earth. However, the clock slowdown suggests that there's an object which is not moving at all, or perhaps going in a retrograde orbit. At 5:40 this morning, I was able to see the Moon and Sirius. Okay, the Moon appeared to be in line with Sirius. We're looking at the Moon here. Top of the camera, top of the image is north, bottom is south. There's Sirius down there. Possibly it will show up in the. Possibly it will show up. Oh, there it is. There, I can see it on the screen now. There's Sirius in the south. There's the Moon north. Of course, it's absurd to be suggesting that the Moon might be in the wrong position in the sky. However, I have been out there to check it just now, and this is what I saw. Okay, so it's 7:26 a.m. I'm looking straight up. The space of this building is facing south, and you should be able to see the Moon up there. Okay, so the Moon appears to be where it should be, but perhaps the Earth and Moon are not where they should be. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that the premise behind this 188-day cycle might be wrong. After all, we can see clearly that this diagram is unsymmetrical. And it's unsymmetrical because it takes longer for the Earth to get to this side of the Sun than it does to return. That puts the alignment based on the position of the Earth for the Christchurch earthquake too close to the Chilean alignment. And the gap between this alignment and the Japan alignment is too large, especially if you consider this object is supposed to be coming in on a trajectory with a curve like this. So I think we have to eliminate
the Christchurch earthquake, because it doesn't fit. But the Christchurch earthquake, which occurred on September 3rd, Universal Standard Time, is a perfect match for the Orion alignment. Is it possible we have a very dense object coming in from this direction instead? For example, Saturn, Earth to this object, that alignment occurred on February 27, simultaneous with the Earth, Sun, Jupiter, which brought the Chilean earthquake. And then if we go to March 11 this year, Saturn's round further, and we had alignment between Saturn, Earth, and this object again, which is now moved in closer to the solar system, but curling down towards the Sun perhaps. And that of course occurred simultaneous to the Earth, Moon, Pleiades alignment, which of course brought another big earthquake. For that to be the case, we'd also expect earthquakes when the Earth is down here and over here. So do we have any of those earthquakes that match that kind of alignment between the Earth, Sun, or Sun, Earth, and the object, which would be somewhere in this vicinity? Perhaps much further out, but somewhere in this direction. Well, after the Chilean earthquake on February 2nd, there was a big earthquake on April 6th, which occurred on the Orion alignment, or just one day after the Orion alignment. But the peak in earthquakes actually occurred on the alignment. So where would that put the Earth? Well, I've got it up here. This is that date, April 6, 2010. And that's a slightly steeper angle than we had for the Saturn alignment. And this alignment here could easily intersect with somewhere out here with the Saturn alignment, which occurred a week earlier. So do we have any big earthquakes that occurred when the Earth was on this side of the Sun that would match this kind of pattern? Well, turns out the biggest earthquake in that half of the year was in Indonesia on October 25, and that of course occurred on the Moon Pleiades alignment, but it also a little bit of alignment of planets there too. It was not sure how exact this would be, but it was the Sun, Venus, Earth, and Mercury's not too far off it. And of course you get the Pleiades out here, so maybe that object was involved, or maybe it wasn't, because so many alignments lined up there anyway. But we'll add it in just to see what happens. And of course the next earthquake to look at is the massive one on March 11 in Japan, and the resulting tsunami that was on the Pleiades alignment. So let's have a look at it on Celestia. And if we were to draw a line from Saturn through the Earth up here, this could also intersect with this possible trajectory of a large object. So the next significant earthquake after the March 11 earthquake in Japan would be the one in Burma, which is on March 24, and one which I'm not sure where it is, but it was on April 7, and these both occurred on Pleiade alignments. Pleiade alignment there, Pleiade, Earth Moon Pleiade alignment there. And if we draw a line from the Earth Sun, it could also intersect with our line from Saturn Earth earlier on. Let's also include the three earthquakes that didn't occur on typical alignments, namely the Virginia earthquake on August 23rd, the Vancouver earthquake on September 9, and the Fiji earthquake on September 15. Okay, so let's quickly look at these on a diagram. First is the February 27 earthquake in Chile in 2010, and if we were to draw a line from Saturn, for example, it would look like this. And if we followed that with the alignment on April 6 for the significant earthquake and draw a line, it intersects here. And then we follow that with the Indonesian earthquake on October 25 and draw a line. That brings it out here. Okay, already something looks wrong there. So let's carry on. The most significant earthquake, of course, is the March 11 earthquake in Japan. And if we draw a line for that, we'll get this. Well, that looks a bit better. Let's go back and eliminate some of these lines. That one looks like it must be wrong. This one, okay, that seems consistent. The first one, the Chile earthquake, seems wrong. Okay, the Chilean earthquake, of course, falls on the Jupiter alignment, and it's could well be just a Jupiter alignment earthquake. And of course, if this object's coming in from behind Jupiter, it's not surprising Jupiter might have had that effect. Okay, so we'll take that line out for the Chilean earthquake, and let's carry on. Okay, in Myanmar on March 24, Burma. Okay, and that looks wrong. Okay, so we can leave that one out. And we've got this earthquake on April 7, which I can't even find in the USGS now, but it's in the database, but it's not listed as a significant earthquake. Okay, that seems to match the pattern. Okay, now we've got Virginia, and let's see what sort of alignment we get there. And I'm going to draw a line from the Earth to Jupiter. Okay, so we're intersecting here. And let's go on to the earthquake in Vancouver. Draw a line. Well, it's also very similar, it's just closer. This is Earth to Jupiter. And let's go on to the Fiji earthquake and draw a line. Well, that looks even closer. Okay, so the difference between these dates from the Virginia earthquake to the Vancouver earthquake is about 20 days, and from the Vancouver earthquake to the Fiji earthquake is about 6 days. So is it possible we've had an object coming in on this trajectory, and it's now inside of Jupiter's orbit and about 1 AU, 1 astronomical unit, 1 distance from the Sun away from us, coming from behind us. The Earth at this moment is about here, and this object appears, well, if it's on this trajectory, be coming in, well, rather close. It certainly explain why Jupiter, many people are seeing Jupiter so close to the Earth at the moment. So many people will be able to photograph it, photographing the moons of Jupiter. If it's inside of Jupiter's orbit, pulling Jupiter along with it, well, Jupiter would be closer. We could possibly be further out on our orbit than we should be. Anyway, something to think about. Okay, so it's taken me much longer to make this video than we would have liked, but I checked the clocks in the morning, and compared to yesterday, the Casio is now lost 1 second against the internet server time. Yesterday it was 1 second ahead of server time. Today it's actually on par with server time. Same thing with the NACO, it's lost 1 second against what it should have lost. It's normally would lose 2.5, it's lost 3.5. And the cube clock, which would normally gain 8.4 seconds per day on average, has recently been losing 1.5 to 2 seconds a day against its average speed, and today is actually down 3.5 seconds against its average speed. So the rate of slowdown is accelerating, and I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a buzzing sound with some of these recordings, and that's coming from these tiles, I believe. And this is consistent with this phenomenon that was happening about a month ago when we had the clock slowdowns. You get this buzzing sound. Sounds like a bit of sounds like a tattoo machine. And soon, I guess, the touch buttons on my computer will start flicking on and off by themselves. We seem to be in that phase again. What happens if we include the biggest earthquake so far this century? And that would be the Boxing Day tsunami in Sumatra, Indonesia. And that, of course, occurred on an Orion alignment, and Jupiter was over here and the Earth was here, and this is what it would look like if we drew a line between the two. And Orion is at 12 o'clock from the Earth. Of course, 3 days prior to that there was a 8.3 in the Macquarie Islands, and that was on the Pleiades alignment. We got the April 6, 2010 earthquake, which occurred just after the Chilean earthquake. We got the Japan earthquake, which occurred on the Pleiades alignment. And that was followed by another earthquake on April 7. And then we have the Kermadec Islands earthquake on July 6, and that was, I believe, a 7.6, although it was downgraded from a 7.9, perhaps an 8 plus. It was a big earthquake. And then we've got the Virginia earthquake, and we've got the Vancouver earthquake, and we've got the Fiji earthquake. Okay, so this is just an idea of what could have been the sequence if you had an object coming on a hyperbolic curve from this direction, perhaps coming more from the sideways and turning into towards the sun to hit all these alignments. That would probably be what would be going on. It would have to be coming from over here and turning in towards the sun. All of these alignments, apart from this one involving Saturn and this one involving the sun, are between Earth and Jupiter and some third object. And if you look at the blue line, which is for the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004, 6 years ago, you'll find that this line has actually got the lowest slope. If you go right off the picture to the top right, this line will eventually become lower than the others. So that would be the incoming trajectory. And then as it gets closer, it starts crossing these other lines and coming towards the sun, starts to curl in and hit these other alignments. Okay, I could probably do this all day long, but here's one possible scenario for an object coming in from somewhere on the right of this image and intersecting between the Earth and Jupiter alignment, or the Earth-Sun alignment, or the Earth-Saturn alignment. For the first one, it would be Chile, 2010, February 27, and then it would be the Mentawai, Indonesia, on October 25 of last year, 7.7, and then we've got the March 11 earthquake in Japan this year, followed by the earthquake in Burma on March 24, followed by another significant earthquake on April 7, followed by the Kermadec Island earthquake on July 6, followed by the Virginia earthquake on August 23, followed by the Vancouver earthquake on September 9, and then we have the Fiji earthquake on September 15. That would seem to suggest an object coming in from the right and turning towards the sun and being about here at this moment. And of course right now the Earth is here, so that is not a very good position. So if you were to look for this object, it would be somewhere in alignment with Jupiter, somewhere probably in front of Jupiter, or just ahead or just behind Jupiter. So if it is so close, how come we can't see it? Well, many people believe Planet X, or Nibiru, is actually a brown dwarf which is shrouded with ash and dust from a failed ignition, and it cannot be seen easily with an optical telescope. However, it can be seen with an infrared telescope. But being so close, it should now at least be illuminated slightly by the sun. As well as that, it should be warmed a little bit. So I'm going to get out there with a infrared webcam jerry-rigged to a telescope and see if I can't see it. So I'll be posting a video tomorrow to let you know how I got on tonight. Well, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? Okay, so it's already 6 o'clock and I've done the readings for the clocks. I'll just do them here so you can see what they are. This is, as you can see, actually it's very similar to this one here. My Casio is now 1 second behind when it used to be 1 second ahead. Okay, these clocks are very well synchronized. Interestingly, oh, I just missed it. But interestingly, when you look at this chart, okay, the Casio first. The Casio is now, in the morning it was even, and now Casio is 1 second behind, NACO is an extra second behind. This one is actually, you know, only 7 seconds in the end of the day behind. I think it's because of those earthquakes we had. The charts are looking like this now. However, this appears to be internet server time adjustment, because if you look at the cube clock, when you take the difference between a cube clock and a Casio, the cube's actually risen up a bit. But for some reason I've allowed the internet server time to be adjusted, so the others, maybe they know this is bottomed out and now they're just adjusting things, but they've over-adjusted it, in my opinion. Anyway, maybe anticipating a jump. So that's that, and let's quickly show you the webcam. This is an infrared webcam, and inside here you can see the little sensor. What you do with this is you put it straight up against the
eyepiece of a telescope and focus the telescope straight onto the sensor. And that way you avoid all the lens flare and all that other stuff that might happen trying to use a cheap webcam with a telescope, or any sort of camera with a telescope. And the other thing about this is it's infrared. Those LEDs, you can tell it's infrared. Well, on the box it sort of said so, but you can tell it's infrared because the LEDs aren't white in the middle. They're a dull colour, and it glows in infrared. And you can watch this flick over. For some reason you can't see it. There you go. I think we just flicked over. Okay. So tomorrow I'll have an update and let you know if I have any success finding this elusive Nibiru. And of course, if you've got a telescope and an infrared webcam, you might want to take it out and try and look for it yourself too. Now we know roughly where it is. Well, there's a good chance that's where it is. Okay, take care, be safe, and start doing whatever you think you need to do. Thank you.